I don't want to waste your time, so there won't be an intro. When talking about flexibility and mid-round adaptations, the conversation is usually focused on the attackers. And that is of course no surprise, because it's the attackers that dictate where the round is going to be played out. And this decision is not limited to just the early game. Sometimes you can see teams change up their entire attack in the mid-game because they gained additional information. But you never really hear about defenders being flexible and adapting to the attackers. Like, sure, they obviously rotate players around depending on what the attackers are doing, but you rarely see the setup itself being changed. But that is exactly what's happening here. Before we get into that though, I quickly want to let you guys know that I'm live on Twitch right now. Link is in the description. Back to Disrupt's Bunk setup though. Up until now, it's a fairly standard one, right? We got walls in cache to office, we got walls in kitchen, and we got a shield set up to contest cafe. So nothing really new at the moment. But there is something odd about this setup. Where are the mirror windows? The answer is in Reed's pocket. He just hasn't placed them yet. But he is about to. Take a look at what Reed and Retro are doing right now. Reed placed a mirror window in Bunk, and then he rotates over to Office, where we see Retro barricading pretty much every door on that side of the map. But Reed takes it even a step further. He reinforces the wall towards yellow and places his second mirror window, at the 2-minute and 11 mark. And now we have this very interesting setup, which I don't think I've ever seen before. We've got Goyo playing on a shield outside of cafe, and then we have Jaeger on main stairs to make sure no one jumps into arcade window. To be fair, that is a pretty standard way of contesting cafe, but this setup gets really interesting once cafe is lost. Because what are the attackers supposed to do with their cafe control? They are staring down this Bunk mirror, and even if they manage to get out, they're going to get mowed down by the guy playing behind the office mirror. So as you can see, this strategy is insanely strong against cafe side takes. But at the same time, it's also incredibly weak against dragon side takes, because in that case, the mirror windows actually help the attackers. Well, lucky that SSG is going for a cafe take, right? Except it's obviously not lucky at all. The only reason that Disrupt set up the strat the way they did is because they knew that SSG was going for a cafe take. But it was not a counter strat in the traditional sense. Look at the prep phase again. See how Reed is kinda hesitating with the mirror placement? Well, he is until NJR spots this drone from Rampy, which together with sound cues can be seen as a sign that SSG is going for a cafe side take. And this is what prompted the unusual mirror setup. I personally think that's a really cool strategy, because it goes against the common idea that the defenders are supposed to set up their utility in the prep phase and then kind of forget about it. As you can see, it doesn't need to be that way. And the benefits of doing it like that are pretty obvious. Usually, the defenders have to be conservative with their utility. You can't just stack everything on one side, because, well, what if the attackers attack from the other side? Especially with mirror, that's a pretty big concern. But here we see a potential solution. Instead of hedging your bets by placing utility on both sides of the objective, you just wait until you know which side the attackers are coming from. And that guarantees that you get the highest possible return from your utility. As an example for how this looks like in action, I'll show you the rest of the round, because it does a pretty good job of showing just how strong this defense is against cafe side takes. SSG do eventually manage to force J9 away, which gives them control of cafe. And here I want to switch to round 11 of the same match, because it's basically the same round again, but I get better camera angles to explain. So, as you can see, 4v4 with SSG having control of cafe and main stairs. But that's really all the control they have. Look at how awkward it is to play the situation. They can't push cafe hallway because of the mirror window in office. They can't really push site because of the mirror window in Bunk. And in theory, they also can't push arcade catwalk because of this Goyo shield. But as you know, theory and practice don't always align. Disrupt isn't actually using the arcade shield right now, and this means that SSG can just walk down arcade and win the round that way. But to give the story a happy end, I'm also going to show you the last seconds of round 8, because even though Disrupt again failed to use the shield correctly, they have Reed who can clean up the mess in the end. But the outcome of this round wasn't the focus of this video anyways. The focus was that this round showed that it's not just the attackers who can make strategic mid-round adaptations, it's also the defenders. And I think there's quite a bit of potential to use this concept and apply it to other maps. That being said, there is of course a risk, because like I said before, This setup is insanely strong against cafe side takes, but it is incredibly weak against dragon side takes. So if Pro League analysts ever catch on to what Disrupt is doing here, and trust me they will, then it's going to be really easy to counter. The attackers just need to send their players over to cafe, pretend it's a cafe take, and then after 20 seconds or so, they just rotate back over and play a normal dragon side take. Sure, you lost some time, but I'm pretty sure that would be worth it. And the same is true in a general case. At some point, the defenders just have to commit with their utility, and then the attackers can exploit that. The truth is that when it comes to flexibility, it's always the attackers that are going to have the upper hand. Alright, that's it for the video. If you liked it, you should consider checking out my stream. Link is in the description. Other than that, I hope you learned something new, and thanks for watching.